was the president of the Bundesbank, the German bank, in 1999. And then he was tasked by the G7, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, and US, to recommend new structures to cooperation among national and international supervisory bodies and international financial institutions to promote stability in the international financial system. This is how the Financial Stability Forum was created in 1999 by the G7 countries. In November 2008, there were G20 countries, so the other 13 countries were jealous that they were not in that, from an initiative from the private sector. So after 2 years or 3 years of lobbying, 1 month before going to Parliament, I still wasn't sure that that law was going to pass. And scoring, we know it's probably the most important tool for Europe. So I went to Google and I said, I need an international organization to help me pass a law on credit bureaus. And contrary to the query I did at the first day, where I didn't get any information on when I Googled for BIS, I got a response from a department, contact with them, and then and I was still at the bureau, we had created an association for Latin American credit bureaus. I happened to be the secretary. So in May of 2009, and it was obvious that credit information was already an important tool for financial stability. Because look at who were the members or the institutions that were forming this task force. They form an international task force coordinated by the World Bank with the Bank for International Settlement to create the international standards, the general principles that now we have. And what was special about this, one, it was a task force with only one objective. The principles, then task force goes away. And the other important thing is that they brought regulators, the public sector, and invited the private sector to participate. And then they said associations of credit bureaus, so let's not complicate this with too many people talking about this topic. But why do you think that they invited the private sector in 2009? There were very few laws around on credit reporting. Regulators really did not know about credit reporting. So how would they go and start sitting there and writing some principles on that? We needed the experts, and the experts were in the private sector. And that is how this committee, the ICCR, engaged the private sector, and we have been able to remain within the committee. When we were invited to those first meetings, of course there were all the G20s, all men from these central banks from the Germany, Spain, Italy, all these associations that have been for a while already from Europe, from the US, from Asia, big guys, and then I was there with Alagré. And the first example that the World Bank team did as part of the proposal was a model that now is working, but they say we want to implement this model and promote it and And this could be part of how we work on these general principles, because it's efficient, it brings everybody together, and they mentioned the country in South America where they had implemented that model. And they gave the example. We are making all of the regulated entities, banks, microfinance, whatever they were regulated then, to report to this public registry, and the public registry is then to give that data to the bureaus. That way there is more democratization, everybody has the same data, and they do their thing. Then I raised my hand. They didn't see it, so I raised it again. And I said, the government changed in that country. And you know, in Latin America, we changed from right to left, just like every other week. So we changed to left. And the government wanted to congratulate with the public. So one of the easiest ways to do that is we are going to eliminate everybody from the bureau because you deserve credit. So everybody, the bureau disappeared, the registry disappeared, and the bureau ended up with no data. Conditions are different now. This model is working now. But and then they said, like, why are you saying these things? The representative of this country is not here. We need to validate. I'm like, it's in the news. You validate, but it's in the news. So later on, they were on a corner, and I heard them because they were talking loud, so I could hear. This is why we didn't want to invite these third world countries. We need to keep this at the highest level. So then I realized that there are some people that are more equal than others, right? So I decided that it was better to be a ghost than not to be at all. So I remained, I didn't make any more comments. Then the session started discussing what could be into the principle. I offered a few comments. They were not really considered. And then I became friends with all of these other regulators and people that were there just because I'm nice, okay? So I started talking to them. Germany. Do you consider that, could you think that this so-and-so proposal could fly? Do you think it's worth it? Spain. Do you consider? US, do you consider? No. South Africa. And several of the ideas that I would have liked, I wanted to incorporate because they were needed in my area, my region of the world, I had to go through that kind of secret lobbying to pass them through. And then later on, when this was finished, the leaders of this task came like, oh, but Alacret didn't contribute with anything. I'm like, no, but you did such a good work that all the things that I would have thought of are already there. I do not think that this is the way to get things done. We need to be at the table. And I think that one of the greatest opportunities for Africa to participate and have a voice in drafting principles, in supporting what the next achievement should be, is here with the big part of these consultative groups, because ICCR has already survived we are here over, I don't know, 15 years later, 14 years later, and we want to grow stronger. We want to become part of the standard setting bodies and continue with the work that we do with the participation and considering all the needs and all the challenges that are that come from different countries. So now let's look more into what we need to do to make this happen. And because we are following the pattern of the existing standard bodies, that there are rules that we should follow. And there are rules in terms of the membership, who should be the members, who should participate. And what we can take advantage is that this committee already has a private bureau association incorporated in their membership, and we want to take advantage of that. So remember, and just to make some comparisons between the ICCR and what the standard setting bodies are, or the financial standards. Central banks, of course, the 20 countries plus then they added Hong Kong, Netherlands, Spain, and if you can see within this membership for the FSB, all of these organizations, the World Bank is there, the IMF is there, BIS, OECD, ECB, ECB Banking Supervision, European Commission, Basel, etc. We have the general principles as part of the compendium of standards, but it's still not a standard body. So we need to be very strict on how we manage the governance of the ICCR to get us there, and then how we participate in these consultative groups for all of us to be represented. So a little bit more on what is the financial, the organizational structure of the FSB. And you will see, you saw yesterday, Monday when I presented our structure, that it reflects it very well. They have a plenary, they have standing committees, they have a secretariat, and they have regional consultative groups. Maybe the names of our consultative groups are a bit different. We have grouped them by continents, basically. But and 2 regional, 11 central banks from 11 countries, and 2 regional central banks that represent 14 countries, the WEMOA region and the CEMAC region. So in total, 25 countries. And just making a comparison of what is here, but from all of these we have Uganda, South Africa, Kenya, Bank of Tanzania, and Kenya, here in this forum. So we have a good number to start with from the central bank's representatives here. What is the purpose of the regional consultative group? I mentioned it at the first day. I will go deeper now. The regional consultative groups are here to facilitate communication between the committee and the regional credit information sharing stakeholders. They are designed to formalize that engagement. We went through the roles and responsibilities the first day. It is important to understand the membership composition because it has to mirror the ICCR. So the ICCR is composed of regulators, associations of credit bureaus, and other institutions that are mostly multilateral, bilateral, and those guys that are like us, the supportive arm that will support the ICCR also in getting things done. There are appointments to the membership. There is an application to the membership. The committee should elect a chair, and the chair should be a member, a direct member of the ICCR. Right now, Africa only has 2 members in the ICCR. The NCR, that is South Africa, and ACISA, that is the association that was created for Africa. And Jared will have a chance to remain with the credit bureaus after my other 5 slides, so that we can talk about ACISA and make it as strong as possible to also be an important element in this whole exercise. Because from the ICCR, in creating this committee, we need to have a representative with whom we can talk and who has talked already with all of you, with all the stakeholders, to bring to the committee your challenges or your innovations or your ideas so that they can be considered and we can work on them at the global level. So this is basically what this is about. And what we want is, you will have this presentation. These are the current members of the ICCR. As you can see, there are 14 G20 countries, and there are any regulator can ask to be a member of the ICCR from any country, and any regulator that is relevant to, we don't want the electricity regulator in the ICCR. And then you see the private sector. These are the associations, the groups of associations, and the multilateral or bilaterals that form part of the ICCR. BIS is still there, World Bank, SME Forum is part of the IFC, IFC, and then APEC, that comes and goes, but is still part of the committee. Again, from the list of participants here, regulators from all of these regulators are represented in the conference. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to see what else we need to do for you to go back and be interested in participating in this exercise. Will the authorities in your countries consider this an important tool sufficiently for you to, or for them to put some resources in terms of people and time to contribute to this exercise? And then the associations from the different countries, where there isn't an association, I guess that the only bureau could be considered herself an association. And then there are other bodies that could also join in, such as FSD, SACRA, and others like that. These are the ones that have participated in this conference. And we also want to take advantage of the topics that are relevant in FSB for the termination of this year, which is cross-border. For them is payments, but payments is data, so cross-border, as we have been talking, and then digital innovation. Digital has been in the agenda for a long time, but again, it is one of our main topics for the ICCR, and I would expect that it would be also one of the main topics for the committee that we expect would be formed for Africa. So maybe Colin can help me with some last guidelines of what would be next for this community to be part of the regional consultative group for the ICCR for Africa. We don't expect responses today, but we do expect for you to communicate with the Secretariat of ACISA and let them know your interest of being part of this group. And then we will define or design an action plan together and we'll be reporting back to the ICCR. The Secretariat is of the ICCR, Colin and I. We are available for any questions, any additional presentations or meetings that are needed for this collaboration to take place. Colin, anything to add?
I think you summed it up. The intention is to have the voice of Africa on the table. We are doing the same for Asia, Latin America, Europe. So it will be very important for us to ensure that we are represented. In terms of membership, it's the regulatory authorities which can be central banks or otherwise, and also the association of credit bureaus. We are hoping that for countries where we have not yet quite constituted as the associations, you can find a breathing mechanism of participating and being represented. Because we leverage on what we hear from the people to influence our work program and what we focus on. And we also are looking forward to using this platform to ensure that whatever we come up with, find expression in your processes and in what you do. In terms of the next steps, like Luz indicated, the call to action today was not for you to raise your hand and say we are interested, but for you to digest what you have just heard, take it back to your offices, get the mandate, and then engage with us so that we can move this forward. My hope and prayer is that at least by the time we have our 4 plenary, like Luz indicated, we have 2 plenaries in a year. One is in June, and we are going to be in Italy, June 8 and 9. And the second plenary is, the 4th plenary is going to be in Bali, Indonesia, in October. So the hope is that by that time, we would have gotten a bit of structure in terms of what we want to do as Africa. Then the last point that I want to make, which is slightly tangential, is that we also do have what we call expert sessions at our plenary meeting. So if there's anything that you are working on which you think is exciting or innovation or topical within the continent, whether in a private sector or otherwise, and this one is an invitation to all of you. If you are working on anything that is topical or interesting, let us know. We can find a slot for you during the plenary sessions, because we have found it that it's useful for regulators to also hear from private sector organizations what they are doing, the challenges that they are coming across. During the last plenary in November, we had one BNPL company that presented. That is why I was talking about BNPL. The other plenary with an aggregator and all of that. So we look forward to engaging with you more. Please feel free to reach out to Luz and myself, and let's get our voice on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I'm glad that you didn't have anything to say. The rest of all of us can have an early coffee break. And please, the credit bureaus remain here. Last call for any questions for Colin.
A quick one. I'm Kenya from FSC Kenya, and I was just reflecting on Anna's comments on around standards making sense for previously excluded and currently included So maybe in your other conversations, just to also consider how whatever you're suggesting is also including the ones who are not really captured in the survey.
That is our main objective. For consumer inclusion, for business inclusion, for displaced people, for organizations that are not represented in general. So yes, and any ideas that you may have, just bring them to us and we will also incorporate them there. Thank you so much. Jared.